Hi everybody, I'm Chris and welcome to Board on the Floor. Today we're going to take a look at what's inside the box for Waste Nights.
What's in the box?
Not until you give me the
What's in the f***ing box?
I wanted to get my hands on this because a lot of people online had been comparing it to Posthuman Saga, and I'm a big fan of Posthuman Saga, so I wanted to see if they actually do compare and how they differ. Because when you get a lot of similar games, it's interesting to be able to see where the similarities actually end, whether it's just thematic or mechanic, or if the designs are very similar. But when people talk about games I like and compare them to other games, I always want to try those other games just to kind of see for myself. And so Waste Nights is one of the games that has been compared to Posthuman Saga, and so that's why it's now part of my collection. Now, whether it's going to stay in my collection will all depend on whether or not I think it's as good or possibly even better. If it's better than Posthuman Saga, then maybe it's going to knock that game off my shelf because I don't want to have too many similar games at this point now. I'm starting to get a bigger collection and I want to try and have as many different games as possible so that if I want to play a specific type of game, I don't have to choose between 2 or 3. I just have the one I like that's in that genre or theme or something like that. It just makes it easier for me. So right now we're going to do a what's in the box. But once I have a chance to get it to the table and play it, I am going to do a comparison video between Waste Nights and Posthuman Saga. But for now, let's see what's inside. And so there is a Kickstarter edition of this out, and what I have right here is the retail version. So I think there's fewer minis because there's fewer characters in it. There's no expansions in this box. The Kickstarter version, I think, was a way bigger box that had everything stuffed inside of it. But in the retail version, you have, I think, 6 different nights you get to play. And just the basic, I believe there's 7 or 8 scenarios. So here we have the rule book with a lot of flavor text. This is a post-apocalyptic game where we are in a kind of ruined Australia. And these scenarios, I do believe, are all about exploration, survival. You also get pretty cool looking vehicles. And right away I can see how it differs from Posthuman Saga. And Posthuman Saga has those map tiles that you get to flip over as you're exploring. But this has a large board with the map of Australia that you get to travel around. There's the rule book. Oh, we have, this is actually, I think, a deck holder. And our tokens, damage tokens, maybe some terrain tokens. This is the first player counter, some radiation. So obviously in this post-apocalyptic world, there's a lot of dangers out there as you're going to be exploring and traveling over the map. So here we have the board. It's a bit larger, so maybe afterwards I'll take it out and I'll lay it over the table so we can take a better look at it. But here you can kind of see a bit of the design of the map area. This is the camp, where if you choose to camp, you get to go there. It is a one-sided map, so the back is just black. And so similar to Posthuman Saga, you also have a storybook where you get to go in and you kind of have a choose your own adventure type story. This looks like one of the characters, so I'm going to cut this open. I do like when these games kind of come with these kind of like narrative books because it really does, push the theme further. And I think storytelling is kind of cool in these types of games. So if you're into the Dungeons and Dragons or if you grew up doing that kind of stuff, I did not. I played very boring games as a kid, mostly Monopoly and family board games. And so I really dig when these games have these deep story narratives. And so we have our book of tales here, and these are, I believe, are the character sheets. Sallow Lee, he's a slasher. Johnny Taylor, trailblazer. Nellie Thompson, stalker. Zoe Shaw, mechanic. Logan Harris, avenger. Alinta, spirit warrior. There you go. So here you can see we have our health, resilience, whether there's armor or hands, so the weapons most likely. I do believe over here, this is the experience counter. and maybe the types of weapons or the type of character you have here, whether they're good with blades or at survival, with aid, guns, negotiating, and tech. So each character seems to have different abilities and different strengths, which is cool. And those are our character sheets. And this is the Book of Tales. I do believe there's 700 plus different kind of like, I guess, story elements or chapters for each of the scenarios. You spend a moment to search this place, search the gear deck for a machete and trash armor, and keep them. So in the guide here, this is where we have all of our scenarios. There are some solo scenarios in here, which is excellent. And then some that are 2 to 4 players, but I read in the rule book that you could just two-hand those, so you could actually just play 2 characters and it's still solo. But there's one scenario at the end that is actually a competitive scenario, so it's the only one that they say you can't play solo because it's kind of a versus scenario, so everybody against one another. You hear no solo mode in Sunken Treasures. This adventure is competitive and cannot be played in solo mode. Additionally, the quick play setup rules cannot be used. So that is the guide. And let's get to the components. We have some dice. They look like they're for combat, or I guess successes. Maybe if it's a lot of luck rolls or skill tests, you'll be using that. Some tokens. There's gas, ammo, and I think some health med tokens. They're actually plastic tokens. They're not cardboard tokens, which is nice. Oh, and then colored bases for your characters. There's only 4, but there are 6 different characters here. So let's take a look at these minis. And I'm going to bring back the character sheet so I can see their names. Let's see. So let's find Sallow Lee. Here he is, or they are. Can't really see their face. Sallow Lee. Johnny Taylor. He's got himself a dog. Nellie Thompson. Stalker. Zoe Shaw. She is a mechanic. Logan Harris. This seems like a Mad Max type. It is Australia, and it is post-apocalyptic. So I guess that makes sense. And then Alinta, the Spirit Warrior. Those are our 6 playable characters. Come with a nice insert tray to keep them safe if you're going to paint them. Here we have it's either a token bag or a dice bag. I'm not too sure. Very nice. Waste Knights. It's nice material. And over here we have our vehicles. Muscle car. Off-road. Sand buggy. Truck. Bike. Another off-road. Back to the muscle car. I have a gas, and I think probably their health. So if they get too damaged, they will probably no longer work. I think you could store your items in your vehicle. So it says how many you could store in there. Here we have some player aids. Talks about combat traits, and what you got to go through for your turn. Each round, you got a move action, camp, explore, city action, plot, special. The different types of map tiles. or map spaces. Now let's take a look at some of these cards. There's quite a few packs of cards in here. Let's see if I could actually open them up quickly. I'll just use my knife. So I think we have items, equipment, weapons, obviously medicine. It's going to be hard to survive without it. So here we have some items. They all seem to be mixed in. Possibly some encounter cards or events. Maybe some conditions. Ooh, some injuries. And then more weapons and items. You have to go through and organize them because they all seem to be mixed together. Maybe there's a reason. Sometimes with some of these games that have story elements, the decks are pre-built in a certain way because as you're going through it, you got to flip them over and it'll kind of follow along with the story. Not sure if that's why the cards are mixed in like that, but once I read the rule book, I'll be able to know more about it. And then I'll let you know. Because I am going to be doing a comparison between this and Posthuman Saga, I will be doing a gameplay video of this one, the same way I did with Posthuman Saga. So this will be the what's in the box, then I'll go through the solo rules, and then I'll do a complete playthrough. More items. Now, these just seem to be all items. So before I mix up that other deck, I will go into the rules to figure out if it's supposed to stay that way. So you'll see one side and the other. And one more pack of cards. These are larger, regular size cards. These look like enemies. Ooh, emu. Robotic emu. Blood bats. Gross. Real nice artwork. A collection of very unique enemies or threats. Future in Australia doesn't seem too bright. All right, different encounter cards. So once again, a few things mixed together. And our final pack of cards. Seems to be some more enemies. Tasmanian Devil, Infector, Hillbillies, nice. And then counters, seems to be terrain cards. So different backs, which will just make me assume maybe they are from different scenarios. Here too, you see different designs. So maybe different locations on the map, depending on which area you're exploring or traveling to. And yeah, I'm gonna move everything aside and just actually take out the board itself and lay it out because it's a bit large so we can take a closer look at that, okay? So I'll be back in a few seconds. All right, here we have the game board itself. It's actually quite large, so it does take up a good portion of your table, but there's not too many cards or too many different things that you're gonna have to lay out. So there are some tokens I'm gonna have to punch, but only a few decks of cards. And if we take a look over here, we have a legend to explain what some of the different map areas are referring to. And I guess maybe movement points, MP, maybe that's what that stands for. So if you're traveling over forests or desert or on a road, so it makes sense. If you're traveling on a road, it only takes one movement point. And if you're traveling, let's say through Rocky Mountains, it takes two. On the map, we also have some city spaces. So these are the areas where you could go and explore a city. I think they were called city actions. Some have different symbols, exclamation marks. We have the radiation symbol, hazard symbols over here. If you take a closer look, you can see there's only one way to get from the west over to the east, and it's just through this area here. Seems like you could drive it. Not too sure if there's boats in this game. Probably not. I didn't see any in the vehicles. Here's just an area that's a counter. I don't know if it's for the rounds or used as like a timer of some sort. And yeah, like I said before, this is where you could camp. So at any point in the game, if you decide to take a camp action, you move your token over here. And I think this is where you could probably heal or, you know, like reorganize yourself. A lot of fine detail too. If you take a closer look, there's like, it looks like volcanic areas here. And then the cities are very detailed here. There's like it looks like it's a city, possibly a junkyard in a crater. You can see a little path leading down to it. Buildings, forested areas. Some have little like city spaces in them, but I don't think they're considered cities. I think the cities are really going to be New Sydney, Alice Offspring, Carcassville, Gangrene, Queens Valley, Pumps. Those seem to be the 6 cities that are available in the game. Yeah. So we have 6 minis, a couple different decks of cards, a lot of tokens, dice, different vehicles, different weapons, and our storybook and scenario book. So looks like there's going to be a lot of gameplay in here. Not sure how many hours for each scenario, but because even in the guidebook, when you take a look at it, right when you start off, after you read all the flavor text, you immediately have to make a choice. And depending on the choice you make, the story takes you in 2 different directions, right? And so right off the bat, you have a lot of replayability in some of these scenarios. And then because each scenario takes you back to the Book of Tales, you also have different choices to make in there. So you could probably replay a scenario multiple times and never make the same decisions and get a very different result. So it seems like there's a heavy amount of replayability in this game and a heck of a lot of story. So I'm not too sure if this is going to be more of a story-based narrative as you move your way through the game. In the solo mode for Posthuman Saga, you're just trying to complete your 3 missions and then challenge a big boss if you have to. But here you might actually have to be accomplishing multiple different types of goals. I'm not too sure. But it does seem like within Waste Knights, the story is going to be a lot more important. Whereas in Posthuman Saga, it just kind of colors the world you're existing in, which I very much enjoy. And so we'll see as I start to play through this, what I like and don't like about this game. Then I'm going to take Posthuman Saga out again and play another round of that and see how they compare. And so expect to see a rules video for Waste Knights, a playthrough video, and then a comparison between Posthuman Saga and Waste Knights. So that will be coming to the channel very shortly. If you have any questions about the game or what's in the box, please leave it in the comments below. And for now, I'm just going to say so long. I'll see you next time. Take care.